Do you remember way back in the Warmind expansion when Skull of Dire Ahamkara could give back your entire super?
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
I always laugh when I see a video claiming infinite supers. Newsflash guys, all supers are infinite. It's not like you run out of supers. If you wait long enough, technically every build is infinite supers. But sarcasm aside, what we really all care about is getting our super back as fast as possible. And there is a new fragment that helps with this called Echo of Reprisal. And when we combine this with 2 Ashes to Assets mods, it grants an incredible amount of super energy with grenade kills. Just look at all that super energy from one single grenade. Adding this combination to any build will vastly increase your super uptime, but when we combine this with some old tricks, we have our supers back faster than ever. So while Skull of Dire Ahamkara is but a shadow of its former self from back in the Warmind days, it's still the only exotic of its kind that allows you to bypass a huge chunk of your super cooldown by getting up to 50% of it right back. So then why am I exclaiming the glorious and triumphant return of this bone-faced exotic? Well, it's because this background footage you're watching, you see, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I'm not wearing any exotic at all, and I'm still getting back my abilities just as fast as I can use them. Do you guys know what that means? It means we are no longer shackled. We don't have to dedicate our exotic slot to something that focuses on ability regen. This opens up the door for a lot of possibilities, but today we're going to focus on taking this newfound freedom and putting it towards reducing our super cooldown as much as we can with 2 different builds that give us the absolute fastest supers possible with Void 3.0 and Witch Queen. And now for a word from our sponsors. Just kidding, I don't have any sponsors, but if you guys enjoy the content, a like, comment, or sub will be greatly appreciated. It really does help the video have a wider reach on the interwebs. First up, we're going to look at a build featuring Skull of Dire Ahamkara. There are a few key pieces that are essential to the build, which are the following. The aspects Feed the Void for Devour and Child of the Old Gods will take care of most of our ability regen. Since this build is all about that super energy, we're going to take the fragment Echo of Reprisal to grant bonus super energy while surrounded. This, along with 2 Ashes to Assets mods in our helmet, will allow our grenade kills to restore a ridiculous amount of super energy. The other fragments I took are Echo of Remnants and Expulsion for longer lasting void grenades that explode our enemies with a bonus 10 intellect from Expulsion, and the final fragment is more of a freebie, but I like Echo of Exchange for the grenade energy from melee kills. We're also going to want to add Grenade Kickstart to our gloves and Bomber to our class item. I also suggest running a weapon with Demolitionist and or Wellspring. So recently Bungie capped the super return on exotics like Skull of Dire Ahamkara to no longer provide super energy past the 50% mark. But they did make it a bit easier to max out our super energy, so a decent sized group of adds is all it takes to get that 50% right back. From there, grenade spam will quickly get us the rest of the way. The only downside to this particular build is that it sometimes makes you sit on your super while you look for the perfect group of adds for that opportune moment to get back the full 50%. This mentality flies in the face of the whole point of the exotic, which is casting more supers in the first place. For instance, say you want to quickly take care of a champion or a couple of harder enemies with your Nova Bomb. Well, it means you're not going to get the full benefit because with just 2 or 3 enemies, you're only going to get back a quarter of your super. Granted, that's still better than nothing, but it's something to keep in mind. The plus side of this build is you have complete freedom when it comes to your weapons and also your combat mods. My personal favorite setup is doubling down on grenade regen with wells, so I slot in 2 elemental ornaments, Seeking Wells, Bountiful Wells, and Will of Tenacity. This allows grenade kills to generate 3 wells that track to us and also grant damage reduction, which will give us a ton of ability energy and survivability, but most importantly make sure we always have a grenade ready to toss for that pumped up super energy gain. But this isn't the only super build. In fact, I think I personally prefer the next one. So this second build swaps out Skull of Dire Ahamkara for Nezarec Sin in an energy converter setup. The core aspects, fragments, and general mods remain the same. The difference is we want to be using a void energy weapon for maximum uptime on Nezarec Sin's perk Abyssal Extractors. I have been absolutely loving Fennel Web. I have one with Subsistence and Adrenaline Junkie. Subsistence along with the Vice Foundry trait and a backup mag mod means you're reloading much less often, and Adrenaline Junkie is always procced with this build for an easy 33% bonus damage at all times. It absolutely shreds. The other difference with this build is our combat mods. If we're going for the absolute fastest supers, then there really is only one option, and that is a Charge with Light mod energy converter, which when tossing a grenade while charged with light will grant super energy consuming all stacks of Charge with Light, and providing more super energy the more stacks you have. So we'll also want to run both supercharged and charged up, which add 2 and 1 stacks respectively, and will increase our maximum stacks to 5, which will grant us roughly 45% of our super energy when a grenade is thrown. Now, Energy Converter has some fine print similar to Skull of Dire Ahamkara we have to pay attention to, and that is the effect only works up to 50% of our super energy. Not 50% energy returned, but past the halfway point on our super bar, the mod will have zero effect. This also means that you can't accidentally burn charge with light stacks past 50% super energy, as the mod simply won't work. The thing is, because our grenades generate so much super energy on their own, when paired with Energy Converter, we will almost always get back over 50% of our super when we toss that grenade at a group of enemies. Now, there are a couple of different ways we can become charged with light. We have 2 open mod slots that we can use. I'm running Elemental Ordnance and Elemental Charge so that my grenades create wells, and each of those wells grants me 2 stacks. This means you'll need to pick up 3 Void Wells to max out your charge with light stacks at 5. Some alternate methods to becoming charged with light would be running something like Swift Charge and stacks on stacks, or maybe taking charge and stacks on stacks. Both of these options will have you using your energy weapon to gain stacks of charge with light. So in that case, I would swap out the double ashes to assets for 2 of the new Harmonic Siphon Helmet mods, which allows your rapid kills with weapons matching your subclass to generate an orb of power. And with 2 of these mods, you get a stronger orb that grants even more super energy. Overall, this build has even better ability uptime and super regen over the Skull build because of the constant uptime on Nezarec Sin, which greatly increases your grenade and super recharge all on its own. The downside of this build is that you must use a void weapon to be optimal, and you also have to dedicate all of your combat mods towards your super regen. It means you can't also run Font of Might or High Energy Fire, nor any damage reduction. Also, sometimes it's hard to get 5 stacks of charge with light before you might want to cast your super again. So unlike the other build, instead of fishing for the opportunity to use your super, you're fishing for more stacks of charge with light. It's not always an issue, but it's something I've noticed. I do think I prefer this build more overall, as I tend not to hold onto my Nova Bombs as often like I do with the Skull build. But either way, both builds are the absolute fastest methods for getting back-to-back supers in the game. And when the stars align, you can literally have your super back in 10 seconds. It's pretty unreal. So what do you guys think of these 2 builds? Leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Up next, we're going full Battle Mage mode, so stay tuned on the next episode of Builds That Made Us. See you on the flip side.